I mean, I think that having cancer definitely gave me the gift of perspective. I think that when you've been hungry and you don't know when the next meal is coming from and where you don't know if you're going to have a roof over your head the next day, I think that it's a sink or swim type of situation. And I decided to swim, and I'm still swimming.
In being an entrepreneur, what advice would you give? So did you essentially fire yourself?
I had to fire myself. It was the only recourse at that time.
And welcome back to Gamechangers Live, coming to you from the College of Communications, Architecture, and the Arts here at FIU in Miami. Welcome back, and we have a very special guest. She's a game changer. She is CEO of Intermedia Touch. Her name is Cristina Miller, and more than that, she is a cancer survivor. She is also a huge advocate in the community and definitely a game changer here in South Florida and around the country. Welcome, my friend, to Game Changers.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Sergio. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so Cristina and I, we go back, we see each other here in the community, we're great friends, and she's really an inspiration because she has been not only an inspiration to small business owners, because you've been on this road for quite a while, and as a small business owner myself, I understand how hard it is. You've been through some trials and tribulations with your health, and we'll get to that as well. You've raised a family. It's hard to balance all of this going on, but tell me first, before we get to your career and everything else like that, tell me a little bit about your background. Where were you born? Where were you raised? And what were some of the things that got you thinking about, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur?
So I remember I grew up in Hialeah, so I'm born and raised here locally. And my father, a Cuban immigrant, and my mother was born in Compton in California. And her background is Mexican and Spanish on my grandmother and grandfather's side. So I'm the typical American melting pot. And we grew up very humbly. And at one point in my life, we were even homeless when I was 18 years old. So I think that is what stirred a fire in me that said, my life has to change from this point on. This can't be my life. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this fire that drives them because it's difficult. It's difficult to be an entrepreneur. So you need something that gets you up every single day. And I had a great boss when I was 22 years old, the first major company that I ever worked for, and he gave me an opportunity, and he saw potential in me, and he invested in my education, he invested in my growth, and I, after 14 years at the company, grew to be the chief financial officer of a national sporting goods company. And from there, it all kind of spiraled. So back in 2007, I saw the recession coming, so I recommended selling off the U.S. division of the company. They were based out of Alicante, Spain. And I was like, what's going to be next for me? And I looked into doing some consulting.
So did you essentially fire yourself?
I had to fire myself. It was the only recourse at that time. But I already had things lined up that I wanted to do, and I knew that I didn't want to be a CFO anymore. CFO was very much behind the scenes, and I used to sit in these meetings, and I'm like, wow, I have these brilliant ideas that nobody's listening to. And then fast forward to 6 months down the road, you look at the results of things that were done, and you're like, if they would have only done what I wanted to do, we wouldn't have been in this situation. That doesn't mean I was always right, but I knew that I had some great ideas that could have possibly worked. And that's really what sparked me into going into entrepreneurship. I said, I want to do something for myself where I'm the driver. Right. So I started doing consulting. I had 35 companies lined up when I transitioned out of the company, and the recession hit, and I was down to 3.
So you had 35 clients, and then they whittled down to 3.
Right, and we're talking about 2008, so you know how difficult that was. And my husband sat there, and he's an engineer, and he took me to one of his conferences, and I saw my first hologram. And I always say that when I saw my first hologram, it's like when you fall in love. I had butterflies in my stomach. I was like, what is this? I have to know more about this. So I started doing some research, and I spoke to 2 friends of ours that owned a tech company, and I said, I saw this. What do you think about this? Where's the future? And they said, there's absolutely a future in this. So we did a little bit of research, and I saw that there was a market for a complete system integrator, meaning right now, when you go to do a project, a digital signage project, you hire one company to do the hardware, another company to do the software, and then another company locally to install, support, and maintain. And I said, what if we bundled it all together and they dealt with one vendor for the entire scope of the project? So the answer was like, this is brilliant, this is going to work, but not easy. So easy in theory, because you see the value proposition, but not easy in execution. And that kind of just steamrolled from there. And 18 years later, we're still doing this.
So, okay, so wait, hold on. You saw the opportunity to combine the hardware, the software, and the support. You decided to open up the company yourself, or did your husband say, let's do this together? Did he leave his job?
So my husband did not transition out of his job for about another year and a half.
Okay.
And those two business partners that owned the IT company, we brought them on because I had no IT knowledge. So I needed that knowledge base. And I've learned so much. I feel like I'm almost an expert 18 years later.
Right.
And I'm definitely not a coder, but I can speak the language, which is very important. And one of the great things about that is that we've evolved into doing things like AI. We've evolved into the casino gaming industry. So just being involved in technology and always trying to see what the future trends are, it just opens up so many opportunities for you. So we've ventured off into having 3 divisions of the company now. So we have digital signage and multimedia, casino gaming, and AI.
Wow. So now, AI has come on recently, but tell me about the casino gaming part, because I think that's probably the more fascinating kind of part of the business. Not too many people know individuals in the gaming industry. How did you see the opportunity there? Because first explain what you're doing in the gaming industry and how did you break into that? Because that can't be easy to do.
I think for me, like most things in life, it's just listening. And I feel like if you're a listener, you can hear opportunities when they're around and you can take advantage of them. So we were doing a digital signage project for one of the local casinos. And I heard in a conversation that they were having cutbacks in their marketing department and they needed help with a project. So I came in and I said, hey, we can do that for you. And they're like, really, you can help us with that. And that was doing the first of its kind interactive video wall in a casino. So imagine like a game show. And developing the games that were going on that video wall. And
did you have those developed at that time, or you said
absolutely not.
like a good entrepreneur?
Absolutely
yes,
not.
we can do that,
Absolutely
and then figure
not.
it out.
I feel like a lot of my success has always been timing, right? And you and I spoke about this the other day. I feel like I'm just quicker and faster than everybody else. While they're thinking about it and they're hesitating, I'm taking action.
Yeah.
And I took action, and then I came back to the business partners and to Henry, and I said, I just sold this. And they were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you guys are the brilliant ones. You're the geniuses. I know you can make it happen. And here we are.
Wow. Okay. So you started developing interactive games there for the casinos. Players, for the different,
Yes. So the Seminoles were actually one of our first clients. And we did a great job for them. They gave us a lot of their other properties. So as a result of that, we opened up the second division, and we had no idea how regulated the industry was when we said yes. So one thing was a vendor application to do digital signage. The other thing is casino gaming. Very, very regulated. Federal Gaming Commission, state, local, and because they're tribal, the tribe as well. So all those different background checks, all those different licenses. And we did the first project for them. And in fact, the first person that I worked with, not to give his name out, but he believed in us so much that he said, you don't have your license yet, but start doing the project for me. And once you get your final license, I promise you'll have a PO within a week. And true to his word, once we had our last license, I had a PO within a week, and the project went live 2 weeks later, and we got paid. So that was definitely a risk, but it was a risk worth taking.
Right. And at times we need to extend ourselves and invest in these opportunities to position ourselves in order to win in certain areas. I mean, was it difficult to get these licenses?
Absolutely. I mean, the very stringent background checks, financial background checks, criminal background check, work history. I would say it's almost like applying for the CIA.
Right. Yeah, yes. I can imagine.
Yes.
And so, okay, so then you started that off. You scored a win. You said, okay, there's a big opportunity here, obviously in different casinos. Did you ever encounter any resistance from casinos or existing vendors that you're trying to push out?
To this day, we really don't have a lot of competition. There's probably 3 different vendors that we're fighting against. The only thing is that I'm always looking for what's going to make us different, what's the differentiator. And at least what's worked for us now is that we are the only promotions company in the world currently offering virtual reality promotions as well. So that is,
What does that mean?
so right now, a lot of the games that you're playing, some of the games that they do with us, think about a game show. So what they call coin in, meaning that you're playing the slot machines and you have your loyalty card, they're measuring and giving you reward points for how much you play and you win. So that gives you entries into this game show. So everybody wants entries because you're guaranteed to win something, even if you don't win the grand prize. So these games are usually played on interactive video walls, on different touchscreens throughout the property, and that is one experience. And it's a lot of fun. It's very social media worthy. It creates a lot of ROI for the property, and it gets a lot of new people into the property. But every casino always wants to stand out from the next one. And I said, what are we going to do different that's going to make us stand out? So we started doing virtual reality promotions. So that is with the Oculus, it's with the goggles. But what we do is that we're mimicking everything that the player is seeing on the goggles onto a large screen. So now the audience is also partaking with what the player is playing.
Wow, that must be interesting.
It's very interesting. And we started in 2018 doing the beta and doing the test market. COVID hit. So we had to put a pause on that because they didn't want to be transferring goggles from one player to another. So back in 23 was when that started to reactivate. I think no one's worried about COVID anymore.
No.
So there's definitely a lot of opportunity for us there.
Wow. Okay, so that's your second division. So then you're in digital signage, gaming, and what was the third? AI. So then what are you doing in that space?
So
That's
AI
moving
is
very
also the
rapidly.
same thing. I was sitting in a room, and in that room, I overheard a conversation. And I said to my contact, I would love to get a meeting. I think I can help with this problem. And the problem is that right now casinos market to the aggregate of what most of their players' patterns are. And that is based on reports that they generate, based on coin in. And what they wanted was to be able to have more production from their marketing dollars, more ROI on their marketing dollars. So what we're doing is that we're creating player predictability software for them with the AI. So let's say, for in layman's terms, we will classify players as 1 through 10. So if you're player type 2, based on what your spend patterns are and how often you're on property, we're going to market to you as a player type 2 versus a player type 10. And what that does is it yields better results on getting you back into the casino spending money.
Wow. So now you're talking like data and analytics and not even just digital signage, but you're talking about behaviors, right? Understanding client behaviors.
Correct.
And are you able to see that in other industries as well than that you're working in?
So right now we're doing a beta with a Kona Silence, so I can't say the property. We're doing a beta with them, but I needed a data set. So I had to do it in conjunction with a property. So what I do is I'm giving them a 2-year exclusivity. And once the 2 years are up, hopefully I sell that to one of the big players. And then we talk about, what else we're on to. What's the next big project for us?
Okay, so then, for small business owners out there and entrepreneurs, you mentioned listening, you mentioned putting yourself out there. So putting yourself at a little bit at risk in terms of your reputation, by saying we can do something and then figuring out how to do it later. But that's part of the game. What advice would you give either yourself 20 years ago, if you were able to do that, or, for those listening now, because it's not easy being an entrepreneur. You have to have the stomach for it. Right. And like you said, we got to go, buy money, make our money for lunch every day because there's no rest in being an entrepreneur. What advice would you give?
It's a gaming analogy. Calculated risk. You have to understand what your risk tolerance is going into it. I wish that someone would have explained that to me. I feel like just in retrospect, there are a lot of opportunities that I missed out on just because not being sure and thinking about it too long. And I realized that it's like a muscle. Risk is like a muscle. Like the more risk you take, the more comfortable you get with taking risk. And granted, a lot of them have been losses. But if you're taking multiple risks at the same time, some of them pay off and some of them don't. Now, I don't believe in ever putting all your eggs in one basket. That's a high risk.
Yeah. So, either one industry or perhaps even one business. You're involved now in multiple businesses as well. And by, not taking a risk, I think like one of my biggest fears in life is to not risk something and fail. It's to not risk and regret. Right? Would you say that?
I think that having cancer definitely gave me the gift of perspective. And when you've gone down that road of having to face your maker, I think that it changes the way you view risk. And I remember sitting there when I was first diagnosed and thinking about all those things that I hadn't done and that I wish I would have done. And I could have, should have, you start going down that rabbit hole of those things. And the one thing I said to myself when I came out on the other side of that was that if it ever came around again, and, it's going to happen to me one day, I want to have as few regrets as possible.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it takes events like that at times to wake us up. I have one of my best friends just got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Thank God it's treatable, but it does absolutely start making you think, hey, why am I wasting time on trivial things, or either wasting mental space, stress on things that really don't matter, and if you really focus on the things that are really going to be important to you and your legacy and your family, that's a good path to stay on if you can keep that, the main thing.
I think one of the biggest things that I learned was saying yes to myself and saying a lot of no's to other people. Because I always thought that the way to reach success was just being loved and liked by everybody. And I've learned to be a lot more selective, who I keep around me personally, who I keep around me professionally as my mentors. That is so important to me. So the circle is smaller and tighter. And yes, any of us can fill a room and throw a party and have 200-300 people there. But those people that I go to when I need advice, it's very few and very selective. And definitely like-minded people is very important. And they always say that you are number 5 in the group of the 5 closest people you hang around with.
Yep.
So it's very important that if there are certain goals and objectives that you have for your life, I always say you want to be around those people that are already doing what it is that you want to do, and they're already at where it is that you want to be, because you're always absorbing and you're always learning.
Yeah. When were you diagnosed? At what age?
I was 40 years old, and it was back in 2014. So that year when I was diagnosed, I had actually in March lost my mother to breast cancer. And I was diagnosed that November and had surgery. I had my first lumpectomy in December and began my treatment in February of 2015. So I had 2 rounds of chemotherapy and 3 months of radiation. And that is a very arduous experience, because it's one of those things where radiation's every single day, and it takes a lot out of you.
Wow.
So it was 5 days a week for 3 months, every single day. It's very difficult I think it's even more difficult than chemotherapy, because it's basically burning your body, and it's burn over burn over burn over burn. And I think that what helped me, besides my body being strong and being able to heal, I think what helped me is that mentally it was a task on my calendar. That's the way I looked at it. I didn't look at it as anything debilitating. I didn't look at it as a disease. I just looked at it like, this is something that I'm doing, and I have to get up every single day, and at 8:30 I have to be at the hospital. I'm out of there by 9:30, and it's just something that I have to do. And not always easy at the beginning. It was very difficult just trying to wrap my head around what was happening to me, especially with the fear of having just lost my mother. But yes, it was definitely an exercise for me in mental strength and emotional strength. And a lot of it for me, the difficulty was not even thinking about myself, just thinking about, I'm extremely independent, what I was putting my family through. I felt like a burden. And even though they absolutely didn't think that, I felt that way. And I didn't want to be that to them. So I just wanted to focus on work. And believe it or not, a lot of our successes started to happen when I was sick.
Wow. So you were able to kind of compartmentalize. I'm gonna make it a to-do list. I got to be there, got to do this, and keep going with my day, because otherwise you tend to navel gaze and just worry about everything and imagine what can go wrong and everything else like that, right? I mean, you need to kind of reset your thinking patterns.
Absolutely. And I think I do that for everything, because I'm involved in so many different things. I have to, like right now I'm with you, I'm 100% here, I'm 100% present. When I leave here, I'll have my next task to do, and I'll be 100% present to that. I'm able to shut this off. This is done. I'm on to the next thing. And I think that to our own detriment, sometimes, I used to do the same thing, is as I explained to you when I got here, I had a big presentation this morning. Like, we'll keep on dwelling on that and going through that in our minds and all of that. No, like, that's behind me. That's done. Instructions have been given. There's next steps to do. But when I'm ready for the next step, I'll concentrate on that. Because I think that when we try to do so much and be everything to everybody, something has to give. So I've learned that compartmentalizing and being present in each and every single thing that I'm doing. And also, I am an extreme overachiever. So if I want to excel at those things that I'm doing, it behooves me to be present when I'm doing those things.
So as an entrepreneur, one of the things I tell clients all the time is that you're running and gunning all the time. There's always something to do. Obviously you probably don't have a typical day, but how do you go about prioritizing? Because I ask myself every morning, what are those 2 or 3 things that if I do those well, are going to have the biggest impact on my business, on my day, on my family, on my health? What are those big ones, right? How do you go about your prioritizing process in your mind?
So first and foremost, my health and my family are priority over anything and everything.
Got it.
Because without those 2 things, the other things don't matter to me. So my typical day is I'm awake at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning.
Wow.
I'm working out by 5 a.m. And that's because my health is so
Is that
extremely...
natural? You get up at that time naturally?
I've never been a big sleeper. And that's my family. Like, we're all like that. We've never... So I typically on a night will average sleep 5 hours. And I know that people say, oh, that's not good for you and all of that, but I'm just built that way. And the doctors have tried to look at like sleep problems and all of that. There's absolutely no, I'm rested. I work out. I feel strong. I feel healthy. I'm not falling asleep in the middle of the day. I mean, I do like my cafecito like everybody else, but I'm go. I'm very high energy. And I'm usually that way until just about like 11 o'clock at night. And that's usually where my mind says, okay, it's time to shut off and give in to the day. And I try to read a book, but usually I end up with a book on my chest and I'm out.
So working out is a big part of your...
Definitely. Working out is the first thing. I always make sure that I at least try to have dinner with my family. If I can't have dinner with them because we have events and commitments also at night. The good thing is that, my daughter's 27 years old, so she's living her life. Yeah. So it's my husband and I, we work together. So he understands the commitment that I make. I understand his commitments as well. And I'm also involved in other businesses, a lot of local chambers, a lot of charities, a lot of national organizations. We now have an office in Las Vegas and pretty soon getting ready to open one in 2 other countries. So all of that, it requires different times for us. Also, we have a very large client in Macau in Asia. Yeah. So once a week, I'm up at 3.
Wow.
Because I have a 4 a.m. call with them. So, I mean, it's being extremely, extremely organized. But I also have a good friend that told me, it's very important to also enjoy it. Even though I enjoy everything that I do. Yeah. I think that that's the important thing about being an entrepreneur as well. Is like, you have to love it. If not, what's going to get you up in the morning? Yeah. So I love what we call the rat race. I love every single minute of it. But I do realize that sometimes, I need girl time. I need time to sit somewhere and have a coffee and read a book and just recharge. Or on the weekends, my husband says, clean your day. We're just going to sit at the beach. We're going to go sit at a restaurant. We're going to watch a movie and, just take time to clear the mind and reset and get ready for the week. I think it's different for those entrepreneurs like yourself that have small children because the children do have a lot of commitment. And that was different when our daughter was smaller. It was definitely different.
Yeah. So what do you do to disconnect? What are your favorite activities?
Yoga.
Okay. Yoga.
And I have a routine where every Sunday morning, because I'm up early, I sit outside in my backyard, I watch the sunrise, I meditate, I do yoga, and I sit there and just contemplate life. It really is that simple, but that recharges me. And by the time my husband's up and we're getting ready for the day, I'm already ready to go.
Yeah. And so you're involved with a lot of nonprofits, a lot of charities. What do they mean to you, and which ones, and why did you choose the ones that you support? Obviously, cancer is one of the biggest ones, right?
Yeah, so they're all extremely personal. And I think that at the beginning, because, it does have a business value also to being involved in the nonprofit world. Mm-hmm. But I felt like I was trying to do all these different nonprofits, and I had to be very selective. So when you're being selective and you want to give so passionately, because sometimes you are exhausted. And what's going to keep you going is that you help the ones that you feel like are something very personal to you. So I'm involved in the American Cancer Society, which I'm now on their board of directors. I'm involved in another one called the Pink Luminous Advocacy Project, which is also an organization that helps women with breast cancer all around the world. And they're working on an at-home mammogram device. So I'm also involved with Nicholas Children's Hospital Foundation.
Right.
My daughter had TB when she was 2 years old that she contracted at a daycare, and they basically saved her life. So I felt like I would always be indebted to them. And the other one is Branches, which helps children and families from impoverished areas with education and financial literacy to get them out of poverty. So all of those extremely, extremely personal to me.
That's phenomenal. Okay, let's do a little kind of fast questioning here on some personal stuff. So, you got any pets?
No.
All right. Do you like any pets? Do you like cats or dogs?
Pets. I just feel horrible about leaving them home alone all the time.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Oh my gosh. If I had to say one thing, is definitely arroz y frijoles negro.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. From where?
Cuban rice and black beans.
Any particular restaurant?
Specifically, I would have to say La Carreta.
La Carreta.
I know I'm going to get judged for it, but La Carreta.
All right. What's a favorite book of yours?
So right now, it's one that I'm reading that I absolutely love. It's called Micro Habits. And it's about these little tiny habits that we start changing 1 second at a time every single day, and that eventually come into becoming big habits of yours.
Right. And
until they become the norm. And it's not as that I'm not always reading self-help books, but definitely I like a lot of the trashy novels also.
Right.
You know, a girl's got to read some of that stuff. But I love all the things that opened up my mind to a different way of doing things.
Atomic Habits is by James Clear, is one of my favorite books. So it's probably similar in that sense, right?
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite movies of all time?
Sabrina.
What
Harrison
movie?
Ford, Julia Ormond, back in the day.
Oh, Sabrina. Interesting.
Yeah.
And in terms of travel, what's one of your go-to spots that you love to go to?
So I know it's a hot spot right now, but I absolutely love Paris. It's a very romantic, old school, so much history. I absolutely love it.
Like Emily in Paris.
Not like Emily in Paris, but
Awesome. So what are your plans for the future in terms, where do you see yourself 5 or 10 years from now?
So one of the things that I want to do is definitely, I'm preparing Intermedia Touch to eventually sell it. And I'm an investor in several other companies. So I think just venture capital and just looking for new opportunities. And maybe one of those opportunities is a big hit. And kind of want to take a step back and do what I originally set out to do, was be more on the strategic side.
Right. So one question that I always ask my guests: was there a moment in your life that was a game changer for you, that really changed the trajectory of your life in the biggest way? What was that
Poverty.
for you? Yeah.
Definitely. I never thought that way before. I think that when you've been hungry, and you don't know when the next meal is coming from, and where you don't know if you're going to have a roof over your head the next day, I think that it's a sink or swim type of situation. And I decided to swim, and I'm still swimming.
That's amazing. And it's one of those reference points, right? It's almost like an anchor that you always refer back to as, comparing yourself never to be at that point, or your family at that point again.
I mean, it's kind of like PTSD, right? It still drives me every single day. And even though I know that that's not even a remote possibility, it's still always
it's a motivator.
There. Absolutely.
It's a motivator. Well, Cristina, you're doing some amazing things. Keep it up. I know you don't rest much, but hey, you deserve a break every once in a while. Guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with somebody who needs to hear it, because these stories can be a game changer in their lives.